Yeah, mine no.
Yes. All right, it's 6 o'clock, and the meeting of the Planning Commission on Tuesday, March the 10th, is about to begin. The meeting's called to order. We're going to start with the approval of minutes from the last meeting, and everyone, I think, had a chance to read them.
I move we accept them as received.
Have a motion from
Second.
Cricket. Second. The next item on the agenda. Oh, we got to vote.
Yeah.
Oh,
All in favor?
I'm new at this, y'all. So, all of those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? It's a unanimous decision. The next item on the agenda is old business, and it is the consideration of annexation of 201 Derby Lane, tax map number 617-00-00-127. Is there any discussion?
I thought we approved that last meeting.
We did, Mr. Chairman. Just for a point of clarification, there was, the item was approved by you as a recommendation. It went to City Council. At the City Council level, it was identified that there was an error in the ordinance. And so it was explained during the meeting, and the staff report clearly shows that this is an annexation and a zoning assignment. And your recommendation was to annex the property and to assign zoning for 201 Derby Lane to be in the same kind of zoning that the adjacent parcels are zoned. And so in doing so, we wanted to make sure that everyone was in the understanding that this is an annexation and a zoning assignment for this property at 201 Derby Lane.
Okay. So do I ask if there's any discussion on this, or it's just what it is?
You could take another vote if you chose to, or you could just identify that it's clarified
Okay.
before you, and it would be ready to send back to City Council for first reading.
Okay. So can we vote to send it back to City Council for first reading? Okay, all of those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Unanimous vote. So next is our new business. It is the consideration of rezoning 103 Campbell Street, 111 Davidson Street, 523 Musgrove Street, and 527 Musgrove Street from R1 to C3. Tax map numbers are 901 10 01 007, 901 10 01 009, 901 10 01 013, and 901 10 01 014. Before we have our public hearing, Phil is going to explain this request. Do I need to go, and Ford Tarbert will be recused from this procedure. Do I need to say that now?
Sure.
Yeah. Does he have to go? Because he was the surveyor for the property. So you're going to explain now?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right?
This is a request by the agent, Darlene King Summer, who is the personal representative for the property owner. They are requesting rezoning of 4 properties that total around 3.14 acres. The request, well, it currently is zoned R1, which is low density residential. The request is to modify the zoning to C3, general commercial. The properties are located on south of Campbell Street, along both sides of Davidson Street, and along the west side of Musgrove Street. And the request to C3 is for the purpose of developing the site for duplex dwellings, which is an allowed use within the C3 zone. The applicant also owns property adjacent to these 4 properties along Willard Road, which is also zoned C3. And so they would like this to be consistent with the zoning of 122 Willard Road. The information in your packet shows the properties in question and the related zoning for the properties. If the property were zoned C3, the property could be developed for duplexes as well as single-family residential, multifamily apartments, and commercial uses. Even though the developer only intends to develop the property for duplexes, additional options would be allowed in the future if the property were to be rezoned by the applicant or any future owner of these properties. So I just wanted to point that out to you. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have now or following the public hearing.
Okay. Any questions now? Okay, we're going to open the public hearing in just a minute, and I need you guys to help me so that we can all listen to what folks say, because what you're going to be saying is very important. And I'm going to read a statement so that I don't miss saying anything that gives you kind of the rules, and then we will start the public hearing, and those of you who want to speak and signed up will be able to do so. So I'm going to start by saying thank you for coming. I am really the co-chair of the Planning Commission, but Chevy couldn't be here tonight, so I'm the lucky person that gets to fill in. We have a scheduled public hearing, like I said, that's been advertised with the media and meets the advertising requirements of the city ordinances. In a few minutes, I'll open the public hearing and ask members in the audience who wish to speak on a particular item to come to the podium and give your name and address for the record. You will have 2 minutes to provide your statement to the commission. If you go over the 2 minutes, you will be notified and asked to provide a summary statement. Your comments should only address the agenda item being discussed. This is a public hearing and not a public debate. Direct your comments to the commission and not to the audience. Please be respectful to those at the podium by silencing all cell phones and refrain from talking or whispering in the audience. If you have hearing difficulties, we would recommend you sit in the front of the room where you can hear better due to the acoustics. When the public hearing is over, I will close the public hearing and no further comments from the public will be accepted. The commission will then discuss the issue and make a decision on the matter at hand. Once the decision is made by the commission on the item that you are interested in, you may leave quietly before the next item on the agenda is discussed. The Planning Commission makes recommendations on items scheduled for public hearings. City Council will have the final say in whether tonight's items will be approved or denied. So that item on the agenda, once again, is the rezoning of the properties that were named. We are going to start with those who are in favor of this rezoning. And Sonia, do you have those names of who signed up?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Stuart Owens.
Are you in favor, Stuart?
Okay. Mr. Frank Boland. Jeff DeWitt. Miss Darlene Summer.
Hello, good evening. Mr. Garcia is playing landed late, but he's supposed to be on with the agenda of all the display and all. But I'm Darlene King Summer. I represent the Kings Estate. My grandparents was Bill and Georgia King, and they lived in 527 Musgrove. And when they deceased, our parents, every one of our parents are deceased of 10 children. And our family's here tonight, some of them, that goes with the land dispersed for the King family, which is a lot. And there's no way we could have kept the family with that many people to divide or do anything with the land. I have apartments on JR Junction down on 122 East River Road, And our apartments are high bracket apartments. I know everyone's scared it's gonna be low income or apartment complex. No. I have in my apartments right now, I took our store and redone it, 4 apartments out of it, and everyone that's been in my apartments has been PC coaches, engineers, insurance adjusters, and CEOs. And they usually here 1 to 3 years. The insurance adjusters come in and out when the hurricane, different ones that. I've had 2 PC coaches, a girl and a guy, and 2 girl basketball coaches and 1 baseball coaches. They come here, did a little while, 2, 3 years, and then they went to back home. Most everyone that comes to my apartments has a home somewhere else. They just in here for a while and they out. They have looked all over Lawrence County. There's no apartments as nice as mine are, and I'm not just saying that I am high quality. I have low income houses. I have middle income houses. But those apartments over there are high income, and I don't take just anything, you know. So they come in for that reason, and they want privacy. The only reason, and we're fixing to build some more because I have so many calls that I have to turn back. I have some more land that is C3, and we're doing duplexes there. And the reason that is, first of all, is a sprinkler system. You can't build over 2, you've got a sprinkler system which runs $100,000 extra in that. But they want home. They want homely, you know, like a home away from home is what they're doing. But everyone that's renting my apartments has another home. And they know how to live, and they're quiet, you know. And Mr. Garcia's, I've had several different people wanting to buy this property, but I want my property to be nice to rent. I don't want nobody else behind me not. And these people coming here, I've had some from New York, some from Florida, they from Florida, and they want to do duplexes too. Some of the houses we're gonna keep. I'm pretty sure when we've talked, the big house, 527 Musgrove, we're planning on keeping, you know. But some of those houses are just deteriorating. There's no else you can do. You can't do anything with the land. We need houses here to prosper the town. We need houses here to keep the utilities down. We're trying our best, you know, getting it. There are houses everywhere. But you can look and see, and you can tell me, where do we have higher bracket apartments that they can live at? I know our grandparents would be proud that we're doing this with this land, and I know my parents would be, you know. And we're all, you know, are on the right page of doing that too. But we do need housing on this side of town too because we're prospering out on the interstate. And the reason they like mine so much is a lot of them's going to other towns, Greenville and Columbia. They ride on the interstate, jump on Greenville and Columbia, come out, come back. But you never, if you can look on the records and anybody can look on our police records, there are never no calls on my apartments. I've had them over 7 years and there's no problems, nothing.
I'm
going on.
sorry, your
Okay.
time's up. Thank you.
Just be open-minded, that's all
Yes,
I want.
thank you.
The next one was Mr. Garcia. Okay. So that would
Okay, I'm sorry.
be all that was. in
Okay, so
favor.
now those in opposition.
Okay. Good have a
Mr.
lot.
Stewart Owens.
Stuart Owens, live at 520 Musgrove Street, directly across from one of the properties. Lived there my whole life just about. And I think that my great-grandpa bought the place in 1883 or 6, just, you know, since we're on the subject of that. But why I'm here is we've always been a residential, single-house neighborhood, and we want to stay that way. We don't need the traffic, we don't need the noise, we don't need, you know, property values to change based on commercial uses. I'm not saying that people would necessarily be opposed to duplexes or anything, but we don't want to see it zoned commercial, because regardless of people's intentions now, if they were to not be able to build those or sell them or something, once this is zoned commercial, there could be anything there. So I have a petition, provided each of you with a copy. There's about 12 or 13 of us on there. And what we're seeking to do is just keep our neighborhood residential, not commercial. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Frank Boland.
Good evening. My name is Frank Boland. My wife Debbie and I live at 509 Musgrove. And this is zoned R1 because the neighborhood is comprised of single-family dwellings. Any classification other than R1 would not maintain the overall character of this area. We oppose any change to the current zone and request the Planning Commission deny this proposed change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jeff DeWitt.
Good evening. I'm Jeff DeWitt. I live at 102 Henry Street on the corner of Henry Street and Davidson. One block from the subject site of this annexation. You can see this property from my front yard. As the other speakers have said, Musgrove Street is a single-family corridor. It's almost all single-family from the apartments behind the police station all the way down. The current comprehensive plan, the one that's in effect now, the land use element, the last paragraph of the land use element in the comp plan says that residential areas generally are well insulated and free of incompatible uses, particularly commercial. But exposure and pressure for higher intensity development along the major streets into the city are a constant threat to the stability of these traffic corridors for continued residential uses. And it lists some examples. As a result, these streets should be carefully monitored in the future if they are to retain their residential character. So the current comp plan makes it clear that residential corridors should be a priority to retain their residential character. And C3 zoning from the zoning ordinance, the first sentence is under intent. It says businesses in this district, due to the heavy auto traffic along the highways, will be primarily auto-dependent businesses. That is C3 zoning. That is not compatible with R1 zoning in the rest of that district. The lots that are behind that do not have frontage on Musgrove Street, there may be an argument to rezone those to C3. That's a different conversation. The lots that have frontage on Musgrove, I would really urge the commission to maintain the R1 zoning along Musgrove Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have, ma'am.
All right, so I think I say the hearing is closed. And the next thing will be discussion.
Okay. They presented us with a, what do you call that?
Petition.
Petition. It's signed by 13 people in opposition to it, and they basically said the same things that the speaker said. So just make sure you read over that and understand what that's saying. That's something that was presented for our consideration. Okay.
Does anyone have any other discussion?
Question. Mr. DeWitt, what is your address again, please?
102 Henry Street.
Thank you.
Can we get your opinion on this, or?
Absolutely. The request to C3, even though it does allow for the duplexes which they're wanting to develop, the city does have an R2 zoning district that does allow for single-family homes and duplexes, but eliminates the multifamily and the commercial aspects of what the C3 would allow. So if you were inclined to approve duplexes in that area, R2 might be a better fit for that area versus a C3, which puts so many other different uses into the mix. But you know, that's up to you guys as to whether you would even want to entertain the duplexes as themselves. I think at a minimum, you would want to consider R2 or keeping the property R1.
I mean, I'll speak and I'll say that I agree. The rest of the neighborhood is R1. And I look at the conformity, and to have a different zone would change things. And the only other area on Musgrove that has the apartments is at the very front, and that was from a planned development that's closer to town. And that was a planned development that allowed for mixed use. So to me, I think I'm right in saying this, to me, it's just, it doesn't conform, and there's no proper zoning to make it okay to have C3 next to R1. I may not have said that right.
I think you said it right. And we've said in many of our meetings when we got rezoning requests that R1s, when the zones were originally done, that R1s were made R1 for a reason because of the way the neighborhood's laid and the surrounding properties. And we've always held that to be the case, that R1 stays R1, and for that reason. There is C3 on one side of the property, but that's property that faces the highway.
Willard.
And that used to be, I think there used to be a store there and a commercial enterprise there, so that's why I guess that's C3. But the property facing Musgrove, I think definitely should stay R1 because that's the character of the neighborhood. And like one of the speakers pointed out in the comprehensive plan, that's what our comprehensive plan says. So if
Right.
we went against that, we'd be going against our comprehensive plan.
And many of those lots are larger than the minimum allotted size, square footage size of the R1 designation.
Then also, if I'm understanding correctly, you all correct me if I'm wrong. When you say commercial, it opens up a whole new can of worms for whatever and to be able to come in years later. We are presently working on getting some things that to conform to the comprehensive plan so that you don't have a pocket of this and a pocket of that. So we do want to maintain the integrity of that street, especially, or those neighborhoods.
Just so you know, C3 would also allow general retail, general commercial, business services, office, entertainment, civic uses, a public utility or communication tower, and outdoor storage and outdoor sales facilities. That would also be allowed in C3 if it were to be zoned C3.
I think the key on somebody stated it already, once it's changed to C3, it's not the present owners, it's the future, what somebody can come in there and do. And once it's changed to commercial, it's gonna be commercial forever, unless it's rezoned.
Right? Any more discussion?
Okay, John?
Do we have a motion on the floor?
Make a motion. Make a motion to deny or to make a motion to approve.
We aren't allowed to,
I make a motion to deny the request.
okay?
A second.
Second.
All right, ready to vote? All in favor? The motion on the floor is to deny the zoning request. All in favor, raise your right hand. It's a unanimous decision. All right, next on the agenda is development review. Do we have anything? Okay. And you guys, if you are welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting. Or you can scoot on out now if you'd like to do that. Oh, Ford.
Yeah. You can come back now.
Oh, there
Ford.
you are.
Yeah.
He's coming. He can't come in the front way.
Did we go on without Ford? Ford will catch up. I'm going to read. So the next item is other discussion items. It is proposed modifications to an ordinance to amend section 3.1.9, streets required improvements of the City of Clinton subdivision regulations. And I think I'm turning this over to you now, Phil.
To me and the city manager.
Yes.
This item was at your last meeting. You made a recommendations for some changes. It went to City Council. City Council looked at it for first reading and made some suggestions on it, and they wanted to bring those suggestions back to the Planning Commission to get your further input before going to hold a second reading at their next meeting in April. So the item that you have before you is the actual ordinance section number 319 about required improvements. The items in red were what we made modifications to and were sent to City Council. The ones in orange were based on the comments that we received from them during that meeting and wanted to provide those to you for discussion. Mr. Manager, did I leave anything out? No, sir.
All right, so I'm just going to summarize what I think is what is on here. I think it changed based on watching the city council meeting. They made sure to put in the actual ordinance that it will be selected by the city of Clinton and it will be an independent, qualified engineer.
That's right.
And it will be paid for by the developer. Is that right? Okay. And then the other change from our last meeting is that instead of it going through Planning Commission, the inspector will talk to the Public Works Director, who will then present it to City Council that those roads have been approved. Am I right or wrong?
You are, there is the orange section at the very bottom.
Right.
Identified that the item for a phase of the development that the city is bringing into the system as far as streets, that inspection had to be completed and done prior to any further action on the development, whether it is additional phases. And they had discussions about whether that was just too cumbersome, too difficult for developers to do, and may be problematic because there are different stages within each phase. So the thought was to remove the orange language, which was the existing language in the ordinance, and then the second half of the sentence under number 7 was basically redundant because it was saying the same thing that was already included. So that is being stricken or proposed to be stricken. And then they had a discussion about not including the Planning Commission as part of that and making it part of the Public Works Director's recommendation to City Council because of streamlining. So that's another.
Okay, I'm very opposed to leaving out the Planning Commission. When I came up with this idea, that was one of the ones that I wanted to put in there. Talked to 2 councilmen today, and they both said they wanted that in there. It's just an extra step to make sure that these inspections and this engineering report is being done correctly, which has not been done in the past. And that's why I strongly feel like we need to have that in there. That's why I proposed it, and that's why they would propose it. I think if we did this, I don't think they would vote on that based on what 2 of the councilmen told me today. But we definitely need to leave in there that it goes to the Public Works Director and the Planning Commission prior to the commission recommendation to City Council. They want us to do that. We had a lot of discussion about that at the last meeting, and it's not for us to make an expert opinion on the engineering report. It's just to make sure that our code is being followed, that the engineering report is done the way the code prescribes.
But can't the city council do that same thing? To me, it's
They
adding
could.
an extra step.
Well,
It's
it is an extra
bringing.
step, and I wanted
wait,
it to be.
It's bringing bureaucracy into it, and it's just adding more. And to me, if we want growth in our city, and in Lawrence County, I think we've got to work with these developers and to postpone by having extra steps. Time is money for them.
Yeah.
If they lose 2 days, they've lost money. So to me, the longer we delay the approval, we're still getting what we want, which is for someone to approve the roads and to make sure.
I disagree. We're not getting what we did. That's why I proposed that change. The reason this even came up is because not getting these roads built to DOT spec and not having them inspected by a licensed engineer could cost the city a lot of money in the future.
But we have a licensed engineer.
Yeah, but somebody
We
needs
have
to look
that
over that to make sure it was
licensed
done according to our
engineer.
code.
But that licensed engineer is checking in with the Public Works Director, who is then going to council, who are our elected officials. So to me,
I hear
I
what
think
you're
the
saying.
same, if the end goal is to have quality roads before they're turned over to the city, if that's your end goal, this is following the process. It might not be going through the same groups, but it's following that same process.
But I think having that extra step in there is more assurance that it'll be done right. I would never support that.
Okay, my question, Heather, where are you talking about the extra step? I hear what Robbie is saying in the sense of we don't want to get down the road. What I hear is we have very little money when it comes to our town. Okay, so we don't want it to be that it's something just overlooked, and then all of a sudden we have to deal with the dilapidation and the degrading of the streets. I think I'm more in favor of the extra step. I really do.
Extra step's not gonna delay it that long. I mean, if something's gotta be done in that big of a hurry, it can get done in that big of a hurry. We can have a special meeting or whatever we need to do, but extra steps roads will break the city. You get a couple of big roads and that, what's it cost a foot to pave a road?
Right now, I don't know, but it's going higher every day with the prices of oil.
I mean, it's a bunch of money, and if you're doing a subdivision, that's just part of doing it. And a developer, some of that speed is what's ruined some of these subdivisions. They go in and slap them up, and they don't do any inspections, or what is done in haste. And we end up with something that's gonna cost us in the long run.
And then the other thing that I'm hearing in these new subdivisions, if you have a homeowner, somebody that comes in and buy a home and your roads are already deteriorating, it just takes away from the possibility of selling a home to me. I mean, you know, that's just...
Right, I think some of it depends though on whether the roads are turned over to the city or whether the roads remain in the neighborhood with the homeowners association. You know, a lot of these homeowners associations, I can speak to a townhome development in Lawrence.
Okay.
And they pay, their homeowner association fee is $250 every month, and that goes towards the mowing the grass. And because they're townhomes, if their roof goes bad, the HOA replaces the roofs, but it also pays for the roads there. So I think it's important to know which subdivisions. Not all subdivisions have roads that the city has signed off to maintain. So some of them, those people are kind of out of luck because the roads are in disrepair. And the city doesn't have to, I don't think the city has to come in if they are not city roads or state roads.
We're not responsible for.
Okay, so
This step that you are putting in this ordinance, this amendment to this ordinance, will, you know, we will follow. We will, and I've already talked to a firm that can provide us an engineer to do these inspections. They will give us a report at the end of the construction of these roads that will be used to take to council that, and the engineer's gonna certify, and he's not gonna sign on the dotted line if, you know, he's putting his license on the line when he signs that form that says those roads have been put in by DOT specifications.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, I shared with the commission several meetings ago what I observed on Clinton Commons, where they were putting down binder and gravel in mud holes. I went back and looked at that site this week. You have to have a four-wheel drive to get around that circle. It is absolutely terrible. And you know, I think any steps that we can put in, barriers that we can put in there to convince them that they need to bring it up to standards, I'm in favor of.
So I think my question is how how does moving it through planning commission change it from it not moving through planning commission? So if it goes straight to council, how is that different from
It
it
just
coming?
adds an extra layer of accountability, which I think we need. And I think that's what I'm hearing other council members say.
Okay, may I ask a question then? So Phil, what is your viewpoint on that, or yours, Joe?
Well, I agree with Heather that it does add, a little more time to it. There was a statement made in the council meeting that Phil and I just listened to before we started the meeting. And that was one of the questions raised was having it to go through planning commission and then to council is adding some time to that. Well, it's your decision to make as to whether we do that or not, and ultimately it's council's decision to decide what we're gonna do. I can work with it either way. I just want you to know that, that what's put here as far as the roads going forward will be followed. As far as having an engineer come in and inspect those roads. With regards to Clinton Commons that Mr. Target brought up, they will not be brought into the city's inventory until they are brought up to those standards, and it's going to require a lot of work. The same way with Stone Creek. If they want those in, they've got a lot of work to do, and it's going to be certified by an engineer before we take it, one way or the other. How many commissions it has to go to for approval? They will not be accepted until they are certified by an engineer that they are installed as they should be.
I think she wanted to know what you said, what you think too.
Yes.
Actually, you guys brought up all the points related to these sections based on council's deliberations a couple weeks ago. I think it's great that they're sending it back to you guys to get input on their thoughts so that everybody's making the decision together. I'm the same with Mr. Metters is, it's either way that you want to handle it. It'll get done either way. It's dependent upon really the changes here were based on comments as far as getting the process done as quickly as possible without putting any barriers. But certainly if you put that in there, it's not a huge barrier. It's just a scheduling item. And however you'd like to move forward,
Okay.
we'll take it back.
Any more discussion?
One other question. Joey, if I'm understanding correctly, we do not have our own engineer, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so,
That's the need for hiring a third-party engineer to do the work for us.
okay,
And the company I have spoken with has certified engineers on staff. They're a reputable company, and they will do a good job for the city. If they don't, we'll find somebody else.
I think the most important thing is that the city doesn't end up on the hook for millions
Right.
of dollars.
Right.
right.
with shoddy
I
construction.
agree.
Also,
It takes a little more time, takes a little more time.
Yeah.
Also keep in mind that planning commission will impose, according to city ordinance, a bond on the developer for 3 years for the maintenance of those roads. So we've got that to fall back on. And that bond is decided on by this commission.
Okay, so let me make sure, y'all bear with me. With the 3-year bond, in my mind, what is the longevity before they really start breaking down? Because if I hear what Var is saying, when it's done incorrectly, it's almost immediate. I just know that with a lot of this development, the new stuff, there's a way to still have enough longevity just so that they're not on the hook. I don't want us to be on the hook the 4th year, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, I'm not an expert. We've paved several roads in town since I've been here, and if they are done correctly, those roads will last 10 years or longer if they aren't disturbed by road, having to cut a road for a water leak or things like you. Those are just unforeseen things that you can't plan on.
Okay.
But if a road is paved correctly, it should last longer than 10 years, and maybe 15 or more, if it's paved correctly.
I think there's a difference between repaving a city road
There it is.
and coming in and taking, in case of Stone Creek, 20, 30 foot of fill dirt and compacting it and making sure it was compacted correctly. And that's one point. The second point is, when you start talking about engineers, you need to not only talk about qualified engineers, but engineers that have sufficient professional liability. So if he screws up, we're going to hold him and his insurance company accountable.
Yes, sir, that falls under the engineering firm that I have spoken with, and also the engineer that we will get. You can get one that's SCDOT certified or one that is not. We will choose the SCDOT certified engineer.
Good point. That's a good point. That's a good
Yes.
All right, anything else?
If not, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the change in item B, which adds it says independent qualified registered engineer selected by the city of Clinton. And I further say that we do not leave out the planning commission in that process, that we include the planning commission with the director of public works to have the final look at this engineering report before it's passed on to city council, for all the reasons that have been given here.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we can vote now. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? So the vote is 1, 2, 3, 5 to 1. 5 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay, the last item. Oh, I have data for y'all. So I get to give you my reports.
Yeah.
As a realtor, we are privy to lots of information and lots of data. And I think it's easy to presuppose what goes on in these new subdivisions and whether they're building them out and are people buying houses or people not buying houses, okay? So I just wanted to share some data with you, and it's handwritten, but I can screenshot it and send it to you if you want to see it in person and process through it later. But right now, with all of the things that are listed in Clinton in 29325 zip code, okay? 8% are newly built homes, okay? So there are 49 homes listed, actively listed in Clinton right now, and 4 of those 49 are brand new. Okay, now that doesn't mean there are bunches that are built that aren't on the market. That just means there are only 4 new houses on the market right now. Okay? The contingent homes. So a house becomes contingent once someone writes an offer and that offer is accepted. After that offer is accepted, the buyer gets to do inspections, make sure that their loan's going to go through. So when it's contingent, the buyer is seeking facts to make sure they want to move forward, okay? So right now, there are 20 homes in our zip code that are contingent. 6 of those homes are brand new. That's 30%, okay? And then we move to pending. Pending means you've done all your research as a buyer, the bank is good with everything, and you're just waiting to close. So there are 6 homes that are pending in our zip code, and 3 of those 6, which would be 50%, are brand new. In the past year, March 10th, 120 homes have sold in 29325. 34 of those are brand new. That's 28%. If you do a 1 to 5 year age, which means some people buy them and then they resell, right? Anything that's 5 years and under, 39 of those 120 are within 5 years old. That's 32%. So almost a third of the homes being sold are these new builds. And I think we need to just learn to look, and I'm going to try to just bring some facts and let you guys know what the market's doing every month if y'all like it. I just think it's good to hear. In the last year, the average days on market for a house that's listed for sale is 80 days. The median is 62. And they say the median's usually your best gauge because it's the number, you know, in the middle, okay? In the last year, the highest priced home that sold in 29325 was $746,000. The lowest was $20,000. The average sold price for the last year, March 10th to March 10th, is $228,000. And the median price is $206,000. And if you're in the real estate market, you'll see, you know, the market kind of slowed down a little bit, and these new builds, they were struggling with getting them sold, and they've lowered their price. A year ago, our median price was $230,000, $250,000, somewhere in that range, and it has gone down a little bit, but you have the same house that was here before. It's just that the value's gone down. And I just think, you know, this information, and if you haven't watched the city council meeting from last week, there was data from the school district, and the school district shared that they have plenty of room in the schools for growth in our city. They had a director, I don't remember, he was from Greenville.
He was John Loomis. He is the CEO of Upstate Alliance. They're an economic development arm.
And he was speaking to the growth here. We read the comprehensive plan that we're going to discuss here in just a minute. And the section that we're on now, if you guys haven't read it, you'll get a chance to see the draft, and it tells you we've got the water supply, we've got the sewer supply, or the capacity, we've got the electric capacity. So I think, as members of the Planning Commission, we need to speak to these facts. You know, and we can, that doesn't mean we have to accept every subdivision that comes along. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to speak to the facts. And I think when something's new, we presuppose. And I just wanted to share some facts.
I think that's
Thank
good
you.
information. Good information.
All right.
It is.
Yeah.
What I'd love to know is what is the average age?
Yeah, I
Yes.
can't find that data for you.
Well,
I wish I
unfortunately,
could.
It seems like we have a lot of older
Yeah,
They're the only
folks
ones
without
going forward.
kids moving into the
Yeah.
community.
We need kids.
That's
No
good.
kids.
Yeah, I
Pay
said we
taxes,
need
don't have to
kids.
educate your
We
children.
need kids to fill our schools up.
Say it again for it.
We need kids.
Yeah.
They pay taxes, but we don't have to educate their children.
That's true.
Well,
all right. Any other reports? Joyce?
No.
Willie?
No.
Robbie?
Yes, sir. No, ma'am.
I'm good.
All right. If there